Welcome all you tech enthusiasts, you curious minds, and those navigating the electrifying world of bits and bytes. This is 𝐝𝐤𝐻, the podcast that promises to be your guide through this ever-evolving universe of IT and beyond. We'll be diving deep into the intricacies of IT industry, from market and technology insights, recruitment and career advice, to leadership in digital age. And, of course, a few surprises that go beyond the realms of binary, I hope. So, let's do it. Hi everyone, and welcome to 𝐝𝐤𝐻. I'm your host, Adrian Bednarz, and today we're talking about leadership. And to help me do this, I have some amazing guests with me, leaders within the IT realm. I have Marcin, Sabel, and Oleksiy Merkulov. Hi guys.
Hey there.
Hello.
How you doing? Good?
Pretty good.
Awesome.
Perfect. So guys, first maybe let's start with some introductions. Okay, can you tell the audience who you are, what you do? Marcin, how about you, starting first?
I am the delivery director for the Nordics, with accountability for a couple of accounts.
Okay. And how long have you been in SoftServe for?
For 3 years.
Okay.
In SoftServe.
And being that we are talking about leadership, I'm assuming you have much greater experience beyond SoftServe.
Exactly.
Good.
A couple of years in IT already.
Good. Your hair doesn't tell. Good. Perfect. Oleksiy, how about you? Tell us a bit more about you.
My hair tells.
Oh, your hair definitely tells.
So, yeah.
It's the headset.
Yeah.
Covering it.
Okay, so I'm with SoftServe for 18 years. I spent in this company quite a lot of time, mostly in Ukraine, but I moved here 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago.
Fantastic. That's a true dinosaur.
Yeah. And right now I'm a senior vice president of client success. So I'm responsible for one account at the moment. From time to time, I have more than one, but it is one of the biggest accounts at SoftServe. Okay.
Yeah. Don't be so humble. Yeah. Good. Guys, we have some fantastic leaders then today to talk about the topic in hand. And first, let's start maybe very generic, right? So for our audience, for us, let's define leadership. What is leadership for us? What are the key attributes of successful leaders? Whether in SoftServe or beyond, it's up to you, but how do you define leadership? Oleksiy, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe personally, and maybe it's not quite a definition that is heavily used, but I usually tell my team and the audience that if I'm guest somewhere, that leaders are responsible for technically 2 big things. They're responsible for growing their subordinates. So this should be the focus, that they spend their time making sure that their teams are better than they are in some areas, and growing leaders in them as well, or leadership skills in them. And second thing is making decisions in gray area, let's say, because if everything is clear, if it's if-else type of decision, then you don't need a leader, you don't need anybody to take a risk. You just use the algorithm and just boom, you have a decision, right? So it's not a decision making. Yeah. But if something is unclear, if it's a foggy, if you need to make some assumptions, test, run, retest, your decision, that's something that leaders are responsible for.
Okay, I like that. I like the most what you said, because you didn't talk about financials behind it. You talked about people, and actually this is surprising, because a lot of people think about business as everything needs to be about money. But at SoftServe, at least, what I discovered is we are a people-driven company, we are a people-driven business, and we are talking about leaders after all. So yeah, glad to hear you actually focusing on the right part of leadership. Good. Marcin, anything to add?
A very good point, which Oleksiy mentioned. Gray zone. We wouldn't be needed. The leaders wouldn't be needed if everything would be clear. So it's our job to take care of things which are not obvious. I would add also that it's a way of guiding the people, how to walk towards the goals, and to influence them and to help them also in reaching these goals.
Yeah, I agree fully. So quick question, whether you have an answer to that or not, depends. But do you think this definition changed over the years? Business somehow reshaped what kind of leadership they need?
Or do you think it's always been about people?
I don't think that this definition really changed. We're not in the world where, at least not yet, when we sell to some systems or some AI, or some AI sells to us. It's still like if we talk about the business, and we're not talking about non-profit organizations or like organizations that are that their mission is to help other people, because those also require some leadership, right? So, but those are usually even more about people than business. So it's anyway about relationships with the people, right? So it's like always a people business. So not sure that it's changed.
Good to hear that.
I've been in IT business for almost 25 years. It's my fourth organization.
Okay.
And all the time I experienced a similar approach. So people were the first place. And I was maybe lucky to have such managers. They were supporting me and my colleagues and teaching and mentoring in this spirit of taking care of people. So people first. If they will be happy, the delivery, the realization of the projects will be also in a good shape.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So maybe now digging into the profile of leaders. Again, within SoftServe or outside, do you think, is there any particular skill set that's currently missing from leaders in our organization or beyond? What's the most common missing ability attribute amongst leaders?
I would say it's flexibility.
Huh?
So the world changed quite a lot during the last couple of years. And if you think starting from COVID times, before that everything was like perfect, nice golden era. Not only IT business was growing, then COVID, extreme change of lots of like requirements, let's say, like outside business. Then our business was also impacted by the war. As soon as like the war in Ukraine, again, you need to do everything outside the box. There is no instruction. You need to change, adopt, be flexible, really on the fly. Now it's like a global recession. The money becomes like really expensive. So even our clients have less money available for us. Everybody starts looking into like what exactly they will be spending on running lean, let's say. So that requires again the change. So this flexibility piece, that understanding that the system or like entire world will not remain the same and will not come back to the previous golden era.
True.
That's something which should be acquired, or you need to people need to understand that. If they don't, if they still believe in some, I don't know, like cerebral bullet that's like, oh,
not such thing.
No, it's not.
I agree. Marcin?
I'd say leaders have to think about three things, like a team, client, and the company. And sometimes noticing that finding the balance between all these three requires some support from managers or from people with a bit more experience. This is very important to have this feeling when to focus on which of the three parts.
Definitely. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so now let's talk about you as leaders. And actually interesting to maybe know, how are you helping your organization, your leaders, see the future? And by the future, I don't mean like lottery, numbers, but, company goal, vision, or trends. Marcin, let's start with you.
This time me. Well,
empowering your teams.
Empowering my teams. For me, very important is the authority. That the leaders have enough autonomy to make decisions. we in SoftServe encourage people to make decisions, as we call it, at the edge.
Okay.
So there is no need to have too complex organization structure to have so many approval levels. And this is a great thing that we can make the decisions at the edge. And this is what I'm encouraging my leaders as well, to make decisions, to consult it when it's needed, but to take the responsibility for what they are doing. And this is bringing what I am observing. This is bringing a lot of sometimes fun, sometimes stress, but it's they can feel it, and they may be better leaders because they really have to take into consideration different aspects of the decision which they have to make happy really different stakeholders.
So not holding their hands and just letting them do the best what they do.
But to be as a shadow somewhere in the background, and to be ready to support them, to push them forward.
Yeah, I agree. And if I may just comment, the question I asked first, which is, how this definition evolved, actually I would relate to what you just said. Currently it's about autonomy and letting leaders be leaders, whereas a while back, micromanagement was very popular amongst not leaders but bosses, right? You had this definition, boss versus a leader. Who's the boss? Boss is the person who tells you what to do. A leader is the person that helps you realize the steps, right? And micromanagement is the opposite of what you just said, right? Which is actually allowing leaders do what they do best, right?
That's what they say, but I didn't notice it in my case. As I mentioned, I was maybe lucky that I had such a good leaders as my managers, and they taught me this kind of approach, which is not so obvious when I'm talking to other colleagues sometimes. Yes.
Yeah, true. Oleksiy, anything to add?
The level of independence is of course important, right? So because if your people requires your day-to-day attention, really hour by hour micromanagement, it's not like you're not growing the leaders as well. So how they will make those decisions in future. I believe also that people need to have some aspiration. It's not about goals for tomorrow, for this year, or for this quarter. It's about where we are going in 3 years, in 4 years. Sometimes it's tough, maybe because of the culture of Eastern Europe, maybe the culture of SoftServe, but we're more focused on the really achievable goals, but and some small improvement and so on. But there is one phrase that I've heard a couple of days back, that in the past, the constant improvements of the candle that gives you fire and light. You can improve it always, but it will never be electrical lamp with these improvements. So there should be some more dramatic changes and more dramatic approaches, and that's exactly the question for the leaders as well. So where you want to be personally in 3 years, where does your client want to be, where does your team want to be, where the company is heading. Sometimes company may not have it, or client doesn't know, right? So that's okay as well. But if you constantly ask and see and look into the problems or tasks in that perspective, in the mid-term future or long-term future for the business, who we want to be and how we want to achieve it without the plan yet, that will be pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So including your leaders in a long-term goal, long-term vision, or
it's not always even including. Sometimes it's challenging. Sometimes you sit with them and say okay guys, what's the plan? And they can, by the answer they give to you, you understand that it's not a plan. It's just a tactical moves, living from today to tomorrow to the next week, and it's not about that. At least in our world, as soon as you stop, you start dying, right? So the company needs to grow. You need to grow your part of the business, and the way how SoftServe is structured, or the vision of the founders, is that technically every leader treats their own business as their own, right? So if your business stops growing, then probably it will die sooner or later.
100%. Yeah. I agree. Perfect. Well, thank you, guys. Okay, well, let's maybe now switch to some more interesting questions or controversial ones, because Oleksiy, you mentioned you from Ukraine, Marcin, you from Poland, obviously. So let's play a game of comparison and, looking at your vast experience as leaders, leading other leaders and organizations. Oleksiy, what do you think of Polish IT or business leaders in comparison to, Ukrainian leaders? Any strengths, weaknesses in both?
It's an interesting question. I think that you need to have first a broader look on the business climate in Ukraine and in Poland in general. And even not talking about the current situation in Ukraine, because it's like more difficult, let's say. But even before the war, IT in Ukraine was one of 2-3 industries where you could earn money. Right. So, and by money, we talk about some, not billions of dollars, but at least decent world-class salaries, right? So the same level of salary that in US or in Canada or in UK, right? And IT was probably the easiest way at some point. So to get $100,000 a year, for example. So in Poland, it's not the case. In Poland, if you think about the overall landscape of the business, maybe IT guys earn more than average, but it's still not the only place where people can earn such compensation.
It's more balanced, yeah.
Yes. So that treats or leads us to interesting case that I would say that Ukrainians in this case, they are more hungry. So they don't have other option. You cannot quit the job at any kind of software company and go work to the bank, for example, and get the same salary. So plus in Poland, there are lots of global companies are here, like Google, for example. So we know the cases then people were switching jobs from IT, pure IT software service company, and they went to the GCP, for example. It's not the case in Ukraine again. So this hungriness, it gives sometimes more benefits to Ukrainians because of the mindset.
That makes sense. And then that kind of maybe leads to what you said previously about this flexibility or need for this flexibility.
Yeah, so you immediately have a problem with the life-work balance, of course, because the job is everything. And it's, again, a pretty big difference with Poles here. It's not only about the leadership in Poland or in Ukraine, but in general.
True. I fully agree. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you. Marcin, do you dare to comment if you had to compare, our Polish IT leaders to Ukrainian leaders, or maybe in your experience, if you had, experience working with, other, nationality leaders, if there's any comparison you dare to make?
What I will say is only my observations.
Sure. That's all we ask for.
What I see is the colleagues from Ukraine are as creative as we were 25 years ago, 20 years ago. And that's leads to maybe more bold decisions in some cases. We have learned through these 20, 30 years, in my opinion, a bit more to stick to some processes, to some regulations which are provided by the company. And my feeling is that we became a little bit less flexible in terms of being creative to obey some maybe rules when it's needed, which is sometimes good, which is sometimes not so good.
Yeah.
In some cases, it's very proficient when we are a bit more creative. Then.
Yeah.
I like this topic because if you think about Germany, for example, those guys probably in the biggest trouble ever, right? So the world is changing and they are still in this like Ordnung approach. If you compare them to America, US guys who are like flexible, everything about like business, getting business no matter what, doing business and so on. So without any rules. So all the hungry, let's say, hungry countries, they're pretty much the same. They like, okay, rules, why should I follow them if there is faster way? So the Europe is in trouble in this case. Like all the bureaucracy, all the rules, all the things are like, oh, let's make people's life easier. Maybe we can follow the procedures. It will require us less bold decisions, less risk.
That's true.
It's the direct path to lose the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what Marcin, you said about those regulations. And if you had to like put some, I don't know if it's negative, but any attributes of Polish leadership is the fact that we need to report to, European Union legislations, to GDPR,
That's
to all of those legislations that kind of sometimes might limit us in that staying competitive market.
So it's not only the company which is defining these regulations. It's sometimes the country.
Yeah.
It's sometimes European Union, and we have to stick to that. And not everything is so flexible in such case. But it's always the people, right? It's not the nationality. It's not the country we are living in. It's the people. Some people will be creative and will find a way how to will find a way for a solution, and some people will stick so much to the rules that they will not find a gateway to find a solution which requires a little bit more invention.
Yeah, after all, I like that approach. Actually, it's about people, not nationality.
Yes,
yeah.
It's even deeper. Sometimes it's about history. It's about culture.
Parents sometimes.
Yes. So if you think about even Poland, which has like the deep history of like having kings. Everybody was in Krakow, right? So like if you think about Western Ukrainian, who were not under any leadership for longer than 25 years during the last century. So people there, they don't used to have a boss because some government came, then 20 years later, gone. 20 years later, gone. So they used to live and work and make decisions on their own without any kind of rules and so on.
So one thing you definitely learn to cope with is change.
Yeah. And then, like, if you continue this culture question, think about Asia. We work with APAC region a lot, so it's a completely different culture. Those people are still creative. They're still willing to do business, but it's not even the rules, but the way how they think, the way how they present ideas, the way how they deliver on meetings and so on. There's like a completely different question. So in the global world, with the global companies, it's really, really critical to understand the culture aspect of the people you work with. So how they will accept your message, how they will accept the challenge, how they will deliver, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely, and this is actually one of the questions I wanted to ask, because as a global company, we have clients across the world. We have APAC, we have Nordic or Europe, right? And as a leaders, you need to adjust your approach, adjust your leadership style based on the third party you're dealing with, right? So do you have any of those like challenging situations where you had to deal with, or your leaders had to deal with, clients from different regions, different cultures that required you to adopt different leadership style? Like, Asian culture, very meticulous, very attentive to detail, right? Do you have any sort of challenging cases like that, Marcin?
I wanted to refer to one thing Oleksiy mentioned before we go to that point. You said about kings, leaders Poland had. In East Europe, we had a period of time where we were looking for ways how to play against our governments for obvious reason, because they were not so independent.
Yeah.
And this is also impacting our behavior at work, which is changing in Poland right now because of a strong cooperation with other foreign companies. A lot of our IT companies, but not only a lot of companies, IT companies in Poland, they are cooperating with Western Europe, with Western world, and learning different approach to respect a little bit more these rules and processes which are defined. And obeying and being creative was, in my opinion, a bit coming from this, that we didn't want to accept what was happening in after the Second World War for many years. And coming back to your question about experience with
other cultures,
yeah. Leadership in other cultures. Mostly I'm working with European clients and vendors and partners, and this is more or less similar. I mean, I'm cooperating with Spaniards, with people from Nordics. This is all different way of approach, but the difference is not that much like I would imagine with partners from Asia or US. In US, I was working for a couple of months with US colleagues, and it was like the goal was the most important, the target. That was my experience with these guys. It was one really big project for, like, I don't remember, 15 months. It was not at SoftServe. It was one of the previous organizations I was working for, and the approach was really target and goal oriented. And my feeling was that people are not counting.
Yeah.
I can't say that it was an American approach, but because it was just one project.
Sure.
It was long, 15 months. But it was the only experience I had.
But what does it mean that, like, people, we don't count, they didn't count people?
Oh, it was, there was a goal set, and whatever happens with people, we have to deliver. And there was no really...
no excuses?
No excuses, yes, just work. So if we had to work on weekends, we were organizing shifts, we were organizing people to work, like, change every 4 or 8 hours. And we were really trying to work in the follow the sun way. So, like, we had people in Asia, Europe, and both Americas, Brazil, US, Canada. And it was really like handing over the job.
It's another shift, yeah.
To another shift, and was over weekends, holidays, because the target
but like guys, this is like, I will be a little bit controversial. Okay, yeah. So for some reason we think that, like, it's okay excuse if, like, oh, I don't know, like, somebody is sick, so the project will be delayed, right? So because it's about people. But then you think, like, okay, what if I am in a situation when my plane is delayed for 8 hours because pilot is sick? You will accept it? Of course not.
Yeah.
You will say, like, whoa, what the hell? How they plan it? They need to have, like, somebody to substitute this.
Give me another plane.
Give me another plane, etc., right? So we sometimes think that, like, it's okay to have excuses from our side, but it's not okay if somebody else has the same problem. So it should be like apples to apples. If we talk about business and we talk about commitments, so probably you need to do everything possible to achieve those commitments. And for us as leaders, if we promised client to deliver it on Monday, then it was our promise, right? So nobody asked us to deliver it. So this is a usual problem. We first say like, yeah, we'll do it in 2 weeks. And then we start working over the night. Like, come on.
Whose fault is that?
It's what you said at the beginning, that we have to define achievable goals. And having the goals which cannot be achieved in the planned period of time, there was a mistake somewhere.
Yeah, so then it's still working with people, right? So everybody makes mistakes. Doctors make mistakes. Those they come back and say like, okay, next. Like I'm kidding right now, right? But they come back and saying like, okay, we tried those medicines, like it's not working. Let's try something else. So it's like our leader's job to come back to the client and say like, look, this plan is not achievable anymore. I'm giving you heads up ahead of time that we will shift it, right? So even if we work over weekends or during the night shifts, like we will lose something, right? So we can lose team, we can lose morale, like it's like, or we'll spend more money, whatever it is, right? So ahead of time is a critical piece here, because if we compare it again, like I think that Eastern European culture in this way is much better than Asia, let's say, right? So we are okay to tell negative news to our clients. Like we're not happy with that, of course, we try to avoid it, but at least we want to be transparent.
But that's all about transparency and honesty. Like if you set expectations, from the get-go, from the very beginning, then at least you can be honest about the deliverables. Yeah. And I lean towards like your approach, and maybe not about reaching the goal no matter of cost, but being leaders, being at a certain level, you need to also think about delegating or plan B, plan C. In order to achieve that goal. So in your example, like I'm off ill, right, sick, it doesn't mean that the project stops or is delayed. It means that just whatever I was supposed to be doing, it's passed on to somebody who's helping us, supporting us to deliver this.
Yeah, I think in IT we have too many plans B, C, D, because we came from software development, so we try to capture every exception that possible and deal with it. So it's like too many.
That's true.
It's better to have plan A and then adjust it on the fly.
Just to remember that Agile is not a chaos. Which sometimes
try to build the rocket with Agile.
Well, I've managed
you can always try
big waterfall fixed price project, and we still had some backups over there, like building backups for the roles, including starting from some key players on the level of intermediate developers or senior developers, but including also, of course, architects, test management. So because when vacation comes, when summer comes, you can be surprised that someone wants to go for a vacation, right? And you have to be prepared in a 30-man project fixed price where every hour counts.
Yeah,
in terms of financials.
But that's the leader's job to predict the future.
Exactly.
Forecast,
forecasts and understand like what, and the more experience leaders have, the more possible exceptions they have in mind, right? So we have one of the projects that we're doing right now for already 4 years, and I thought that like, oh my God, I can do it within like one. And that project saw everything. It saw the COVID, it saw the world, and it's still going, right? So it's like it saw the hackers attacks. So that's the experience how we get it.
All thanks to strong leadership.
So and a very, very interesting, prominent government customer.
Perfect. Okay, guys, let's maybe move on to some of the next topics I want to discuss with you. And very, very quickly, just I want to talk about accountability and ownership, because those are some of the key, aspects or attributes of a successful leader. But how do you deal with, or maybe you don't have experience in it, but maybe you do, how do you deal with instances of accountability evasion or finger pointing within your organizations, from past, from present? Do you have any interesting cases like that? Oleksiy?
Probably Oleksiy.
Yeah, I think that's again, as we are working with people, people are different, right? So some of our associates, they don't ready to accept mistakes. They're not ready to say like, it's like my lessons, my learning, like I will make some adjustments in future. They just say like, oh, it's not my fault. Someone else should be doing that. So the worst cases which I've seen in the past is when people are saying like, oh, this is a stupid customer.
Oh.
Like, okay, guys, sometimes like the person on the customer side is stupid, but what does it mean? Does it mean that we need to stop doing business with them? But what's next? If we're not doing business with them, then we're not getting revenue. If we're not getting revenue, no one will have the job. So, and this is one of the probably biggest difference between US culture and European culture. So in Europe, like, okay, I will lose my job today. Like I get some payments from the government, probably 80% till the end of my life. Like I will not die. In US, you lose your job.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's really tough, and it's not about the death problem, but it's about like how you treat the company you work with. You don't need to admire them; they're not gods, but you need to be part of that team. If they're doing this business, this is like you who is taking care about it, and you're part of this business. So the attitude to the company when you are not an hired employee, but you're part of the firm you work with, this is probably the right thing of accountability first of all, because then you stop doing stupid things.
That's true. That's true. Thank you, Oleksiy. Marcin, anything else to add here?
As mentioned, I have more European experience.
Yeah.
And the discussions about who's at fault, I'm cutting just at the beginning.
Yeah.
So let's look for a solution first. Then we will think about what happened and how to fix it for the future. And that's the rule I'm learning also. I'm teaching also my leaders. And so like finger pointing doesn't bring any value.
Not at all.
At least right now at the beginning of the problem, we have to solve it. Later, we can take some lessons.
So you will keep all of them, you will fire all of them?
Depending how many times it happened before.
So first you
give yellow card.
Yellow card, red card.
Yes. Okay. My experience is that when we learn, so the same thing is not happening later, because people are really learning and they want to improve. Mistakes are mistakes. Like it's not something done for purpose. Obviously, so people want to learn out of these mistakes and to grow and to develop their skills. If not, then they are not in the right place.
Then there's the red card. Yeah. So learning from failures, right? You fail to learn, right?
You release them to reserve, right?
Oh, yeah, you release them to reserve.
You will write the best ever feedback on them. Like
the best is to learn from someone's mistakes.
Yes. Well, we all fail at some point in our lives, right? It's all about how you get back up, how you learn from it.
And the own mistake hurts more. So like someone is making a mistake, you will just, I shouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it this way, maybe. But when you make a mistake and your boss is coming, oh no, it shouldn't be like that. And then you remember it for a bit longer than when your colleague did it.
I don't believe that people are learning from someone else's mistakes.
Oh, you need to feel it yourself.
If you don't feel the pain, you don't learn.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm training by watching in the gym how other people are training.
I've got a black belt in all the fighting techniques from watching.
Online course.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Good. All right, guys. So I wouldn't be myself, I guess, if I didn't ask this. Coming from a recruitment background, so an easy question, guys.
Yeah, you're responsible for all the faults.
Yeah, of course, it's always my fault. But anyhow, talking about recruitment, talking about talent, What is the key thing you look for in, your successful candidate for a leadership role within your organization? Anything specific that you look for? And please don't say you're looking for everything or a unicorn. Unicorns don't exist unless you're in Scotland. Key thing that you're looking for in your candidates for leadership roles. Marcin, anything that comes up to your mind?
Yes. And it's very difficult to answer because it's how to call it. It's the chemistry. It's a communication.
Okay.
Sometimes you, at the beginning of the conversation, you see there will be nothing out of this. Sometimes sometimes you see, yes, that's the right person, and
okay. So you just feel it.
Yes, this is. Of course, I'm asking some specific questions. How do you do that? What would you do if?
Yeah.
And listening to answers, but the way the person answers, it's not always and not only what this person says, but how this person communicates with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult and risky decision making in such case, and within 1 or 2 hours of interview. It's really hard to get it, but that's the way. I mean, reading CV, I have to be honest, but I'm just scanning CVs. I'm not reading any CV, all the points. I want to listen. I want to listen from this person, all what is written in the CV, and to hear how this person is explaining what is the experience, what he or she did. And listening carefully how this communication is working.
Yeah, no, I like that because this is actually a quite common approach these days, which is you can teach somebody something technical, you can teach somebody an approach to problem solving, but you can never teach somebody the person they are. Right? So you can't teach how they approach, the conversation, the client, the relationships, right? So this is the approach a lot of recruitment companies have these days, which is you hire for the soft skills because you can teach the hard skills, right?
Yeah, by challenging during the interview the person, when you disagree to some statements, you can also see how the person reacts. Does he or she want to have a conversation on that, or just argues with you? Yeah, that's all.
Disagreeing is actually a good thing. It creates the conversation,
exactly,
the debate.
Exactly. If it has good arguments.
Well, if it has value, of course, not just
destructive disagreement.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Okay, thank you, Marcin. Oleksiy, how to get a job in your organization as leader? Give me some tips.
It depends probably on the role, because I believe in this, the Adidas has this definition of different leaders, PAIE, producer, integrator, entrepreneur, accountant. So for different roles, I think that those letters should have different value. So that's a critical thing, but it means still that people should be flexible, right? So if I'm hiring the person who needs to be the head of delivery, attentive to details, it still needs this person from time to time needs to be in front of the client and sell the idea, right? So I'm not saying that his or her job should be selling all the time and being creative every minute, but they need to be able to switch. So I try not to hire people who are very who are not flexible, who cannot do, they may be great professionals, but this is a different type and the different roles, right? So it's not a leadership roles.
You adjust requirements based on your need.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So the flexibility is important, and the culture fit. Yeah, of course. So everything what Marcin mentioned.
Good.
The good argument, good fight is always leads to some kind of decision at the end.
Great. Can expect a CV from myself very soon.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It will go to trash as I don't read them as well.
Come on, I'm flexible. Good, gentlemen, fantastic. So another thing I want to talk about, because we always learn, like it's all about like growing as leaders, and it's, yes, you are very experienced leaders, but you still learn, you still grow. And how do you do that actually? Because you have so much experience behind you, from different organizations, or in your case, Oleksiy, 18 years in SoftServe, you've probably encountered a lot of situations, but how do you keep or stay up to date? How do you grow, even though you're so experienced already? Do you read books, or how do you do that?
So if you're asking about like specific techniques, so yeah, it's books. I try to have external mentors or coaches all the time. Like people can give me more, let's say, broader view on things. Because even like despite the fact that I'm with the company for 18 years, I didn't come here as a non-vice president role, right? So I grew from trainee engineer to where I am right now, and all the time you have different challenges. And why SoftServe is like why I didn't leave, let's say, because I see that there are plenty of things I still don't know. Right. So, and it's interesting to learn it. It's interesting to work with different people on different tasks in different environments. So that curiosity probably leads towards some like future, because as soon as you're in the role where you know everything, it becomes boring. So what's next? Yeah. Like, and I'm saying like I'm switching those roles every 6 months, but like 3, 4, 5 years, and like next. I really enjoyed I believe that in Japan they have, like most of the Japanese companies have this approach that leaders are not staying on some position more than X amount of years, because if they are doing the same thing for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, they don't have the
you lose productivity.
You lose first of all the ideas. So because you think that you know everything and you know it much better than everybody else, and people are coming and saying like, oh, okay, this person is here for 10 years. Of course, he's like the god there. So.
I like that approach. Yeah, maybe not 10, but like 2-3 years. I like that. Yeah.
It depends on the role. So it's not about the timing itself. The like 24 months. Tomorrow, like I'm quitting, find me another assignment, right? It's about like, okay, I've done everything I can. I grew my team. They can do this work right now. So what else will I be doing for the next time being, right? Yeah. So is it a lateral move? Is it like going up? So whatever it is.
Additional assignments,
Maybe opening another company, like whatever.
Absolutely. Thank you, Oleksiy. Marcin, how do you grow as a leader?
Such a person has a challenge which is not solved for many years, and the student is coming, doesn't know that it can be solved, and is solving it within a couple of weeks because he or she didn't know that it can be solved. How do I do it? I'm getting such challenges all around from the clients, from internal partners, from the organization. So like it's there's no week where there's something interesting, challenging, new, and every time you think that you have achieved a level of nobody will surprise me anymore because this is so surprising. This challenge is so surprising that there cannot be more challenging thing. And the next week you're coming Monday morning and you open your mailbox, and of course nobody is reading emails for the weekend. So Monday morning you read an email, and there is even bigger surprise. So this is something which you learn on the job, right? Yeah. How to solve all these problems.
Yeah, I mean, it is after all an evolving universe of IT.
But this is a trap. I disagree with Marcin here.
with
learning from experience.
Learning from on the same roles. At some point, those let's say those new things which are coming on your plate, they expand. They make you a better professional in your role.
Yes.
Right, but they're not allowing you to grow.
Yes.
Right. So,
and no.
Think about it. Like you're become. Like I will use some example. You become a better project manager you can manage more complex projects. And that's true. This is like you're gaining more experience, but you're not growing hierarchically, right? So in order to switch from project manager to some director role or some C-level position, there's a different step, right? So it's a different type of change you need to make rather than expand my knowledge. So what you described, everything is like, okay, on the weekend, nobody reads email. Not nobody, but like still, like you will have some news, of course. Like we work with a client, and clients teach us like the best thing ever, right? So it's not the coaches or whatever. It's like clients. But at the end of the day, it's like the step you need to make if you want to grow on the hierarchy. It's like a different thing.
But that's the base you have to learn. You have to develop with to have. To start thinking about higher level and going further without, you said you have started as a trainee, then you grew through different steps. On each level, you were learning first things on this level, then you were getting some...
Not every CEO of the company was a developer in the beginning, right? Not every CEO of the business or owner of the business was the person who was doing the low-level jobs, right? So I think that if you want to move faster, the education should be different. If your aspiration is to lead the company, you need to have a managerial education. You need to have a different type of starting point, let's say. Because in my case, I have a software development education, right? So I start from the very beginning. It took me 10 plus years to be a director. Not because I'm stupid, but because I didn't have that education in place, let's say, and I had to learn it from the very beginning, because the knowledge of patching FreeBSD I don't require this type of knowledge right now in my role. So technically, I just throw away most of my college or university degree stuff that I've learned.
But it got you where you are now, so it's still valid experience, but it's just not needed right now.
Exactly. So it's not only about the exact knowledge; it's about the attitude to job, to learning, to the studying itself. So it's getting new, knowing new people, and so on and so forth. Don't get me wrong.
Journey.
Yes, it's a journey, but it depends on what is the aspiration. If I'm not saying be crazy stupid and saying I want to interim CEO job during my vacation period in college, right? So it's impossible, but still people who want to be on C-level leadership roles, the education should be different, or at least the courses that you're taking in addition of the books that you read, the information you got, the people you talk to, the problems you try to solve or be part of those solutions. So it's a different attitude. And maybe to one more thing, Marcin, I have people in my team, I know they are great on the level where they are, but if I put them one level down or two levels down, they will be awful. Right? So they maybe went through this path as well. I put them there before for a reason, so they understand what kind of challenges they will face there. But they're not ideal, right? So they are ideal in the different roles.
Just the right leader in the right place.
And sometimes this place is 2 levels up, right? So it's not always 2 levels down. It's sometimes the person is perfectly fit for the C-level assignment or some, strategy. He or she needs to have this horizon of knowledge as well. But
I agree.
It's not always the level that easy.
Not to say that this will help me get a C-level job, but I'll give you my perspective, right? So yes, learning from mentorship, I love that approach. Learning from books, yes. But what I like to do, and I have started doing this, is challenging myself, right? So not to stay stagnant into what I do, how I do things. So example being this podcast series, right? This is not something that's part of my job. I do this just to learn, to put myself in a position to further develop my skills, which are not necessarily to do with anything I do on daily for SoftServe, but help me develop as a person, potentially professionally, to help me achieve something in the future, right? So this is my approach, is to challenge yourself. And I think a lot of leaders need to start doing that as well, is to challenge the status quo, not to get stagnant into how they do things, what they do, and trying to actually seek new ways or different ways of innovating. Guys, anything else to add?
It was what happened to me in my previous organization when where I was starting from smaller projects, and like my boss was not noticing it, that I'm good on this level. So he was coming to me because I was a project manager. So like I was waiting for assignment project to be sold, and he was coming to me, hey, there is a bigger project. Are you interested with? Yes, I'm interested with. Hey, there is not anymore a project, but a department to be managed, over 200 people. Interested? Yes. How will you manage it? Challenge me. Show me your vision how to manage and fix challenges which we have with this department. So we had a discussion. He liked that. He assigned me to this, and so this is both. Like you need to have someone who will come to you and bring you some interesting offer, which you can take, and it will be much higher than your current skills, but you will learn it. So that was my experience. Yeah. That was my experience, at least. Yeah, maybe it's not the best way. Maybe it's, of course, this is not the only way. Yeah. But that was my way, and I find it quite interesting, and I gathered a lot of experience. Yeah.
And it got you to where you are now, which means it was valuable experience. Last words, Oleksiy?
I think that the new heights, the new authority, new power, if you want to grow, it's like very rare cases when you're given with that. So somebody is coming and saying like, oh, do you want to do it? So in Marcin case, I'm not saying it's impossible, but usually people are getting that.
Taking
it, right? So they're like fighting in a good word, right? So they're showing that they're capable, they're proving themselves, their leaders like risk by assigning it to them, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
So my advice would be, not like, if you think you can do more, don't sit and wait for somebody to notice it. Just
do it.
Come and take it.
But it's the same. Like, you have to show your capabilities, your experience, that you can do it. Yeah. And that was in my case. I was showing that I can do it. I was showing that I can do more, and I was looking for.
Yeah.
And it's not that I was sitting and waiting. It's like our generation of our parents is saying, sit and wait, someone will come and find you. It's
like Marcin, like I'm not saying you were sitting or waiting, right?
I'm not saying that yours.
I'm saying that, like, I've seen it in my past the cases when people are saying like, oh, I'm doing it excellent, why nobody promotes me? Like, because nobody knows that you want to be promoted.
Exactly.
Well, nobody knows that you exist.
Yes, nobody knows that you exist. Like, and this attitude, like, oh yeah, my boss needs to know everybody. Like, when you're the boss and you have so much on your plate, sometimes you forget about those things, and you start promoting at the end of the day people who have more energy, who are more enthusiastic, who has like more ideas, and not the best hard workers. It's the truth of life.
That's it. You have to come to your boss and say, hey, I'm doing it for some time and I need something more.
Yeah.
I'm looking for something more. If you see the opportunity.
Stay hungry.
Stay hungry.
Stay hungry.
Okay, stay hungry. All right. And with that, thank you, Oleksiy. Thank you, Marcin.
Thanks for inviting us.
No, always. You're welcome to come back. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and hope you enjoy this. Stay curious until the next time.